Rioters have been battling a handful of officers at these doors for almost half an hour. The tide turns when rioters who came through the crypt reach these doors and pull them open. Then an active duty Marine Corps officer, Christopher Warnagiris, keeps that door open for the mob to flood in. Just as elsewhere, this crowd is a mix of die-hard Trump supporters, but also more organised groups like the Oath Keepers, who move in formation here toward that east side entrance.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. It is the most complete picture to date of just what happened on January 6th. And it's coming to us from a 6-month investigation by the New York Times. It is a staggering visual encapsulation of the attack on our nation's capital that resulted in the deaths of multiple people, incited by the ex-president's big lie that the election was stolen from him. The Times writes about how they compiled their video, which clocks in at over 40 minutes. They write this: Times visual investigations team spent several months reviewing thousands of videos, many filmed by the rioters themselves and since deleted from social media. We filed motions to unseal police body camera footage, scoured law enforcement radio communications, and synchronized and mapped the visual evidence. Here's some more from their chilling video.
It's now that protesters all along the east barricades surge forward. Officers are overwhelmed from several directions. And retreat to guard Capitol entrances. But these rioters believe they've been deputized by their president to stop a crime. And now they start trying to get into the building itself. The Capitol is now surrounded.
The frightening picture painted by the Times piecing together of videos and communications from that day just serves to reinforce the urgent need to have investigators look into how this assault was able to unfold. An action only 2 Republicans joined their Democratic colleagues in voting for today. Congresswoman Liz Cheney and Congressman Adam Kinzinger were the sole Republicans to vote to approve a select committee to investigate the January 6th attack. The attack that has so far seen more than 500 rioters charged for their roles in that day. One of those rioters, according to Jan Wolf of Reuters, streamed a video on YouTube after he left the courthouse yesterday, calling himself a, quote, political prisoner, and said this, quote, Donald Trump, please pay for my legal fees. This all happened because of you. Still uncovering the horrors of the insurrection 6 months ago is where we start this hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Eugene Daniels is here, White House correspondent for Politico, Playbook co-author, as well as an MSNBC contributor. Also joining us, our friend Matt Dowd, political strategist and founder of Country Over Party. And Frank Figliuzzi is here, former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, an MSNBC national security analyst, and host of the Bureau podcast. I want to start with you, Frank Figliuzzi, and I want to understand if this is the kind of recreation that prosecutors and investigators are undergoing to reach their charging decisions.
The short answer is yes. First, let me commend the team at the New York Times who put this together. It is worthy of watching. I would urge every American who wants to try and get their head around exactly what that day was like to watch this. And for those Americans who think the day was not a violent day, was not an unlawful day or an attack on our system of democracy, please watch this. You'll come away with your own opinion, but you have an obligation to watch this. Yes, investigators are doing this. They're going to do it in kind of a computer-assisted design way, and they're going to do this from reality. Today's investigative world is body cams and security cameras and geolocating cell phones and putting it all together. But here, I have 3 key takeaways from this product. Number one, the influence of Trump that day and leading up to that day. As you watch this video, you see people literally echoing, regurgitating the language they heard moments ago, moments previously on the ellipse. and marching, and they're telling the police officers the exact words used by Trump and other speakers. So number one, influence of Trump. Number two, the power of the crowd. The New York Times analysis comes out with an opinion that this was not some highly sophisticated, highly organized and coordinated event, but rather the presence, the small enough presence of some Oath Keepers, some Proud Boys, and some 3%ers was enough to incite this crowd to extreme violence. And so, if you ask yourself, well, if you say this is great that we're arresting all these Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, watch this video and understand it didn't take more than a handful of them to incite hundreds, if not thousands of people to enter and breach security. And then number three, the cops, the police. The New York Times finds 8 different locations of breaching the security at the Capitol. They also note with great interest how quickly they were able to dispatch this crowd once they had enough equipment and resources on hand. What does that mean? It means if they had had those resources there in the first place, they would have repelled this crowd. So just a compelling piece, worthy of watching. Power of the crowd, power of Trump, failure by the police that day.
I always listen to what Frank Figliuzzi says, and I had a sense he would tell us to watch some more. Let me play some more of this Times video journalism. I want to play the part. Eugene Goodman, Officer Eugene Goodman, is a known hero, known for his heroics that day. Let me play some more of just how close we came to something much worse that he saved us from. Let's watch.
In this hallway directly overhead the rioters, Officer Eugene Goodman is sprinting to overtake them. He passes Mitt Romney, who he warns to turn around. Reinforcements are following behind. Goodman overtakes the mob, goes downstairs and intercepts them. He holds them off while backup arrives upstairs. Behind these rioters and just feet away is an escape route where lawmakers and Senate staff are now fleeing. Just one officer stands guard. Keeping his composure, Goodman draws the mob away from that escape route to where reinforcements are waiting. He glances toward the Senate and realizes a door is unguarded. Goodman shoves the protester again, lures the mob away, and brings them into that line of fellow officers.
Frank, I watched this. I've seen a lot of this, and this was part of the impeachment trial. And for some reason, watching this again, I felt all of the horror of watching these events in real time on January 6th and trying to cover them in real time, because it just felt so close to something so much worse. What do you see with your background in law enforcement and counterintelligence?
Well, even though I have that background, it is difficult for me to watch again. And I had to make a personal decision as to whether or not I was going to go through this whole thing today. And I did, because I was going to comment on it. But ordinarily, I've had enough of the violence depicted from that day. But I ask myself this: are we in a position to do better next time? Has anything changed that means this won't happen again, right? And you've been reporting, the network's been reporting, that we have now a select committee that's going to come together and look at what happened. But is it going to be taken seriously? Are the Republicans going to take it seriously? Is everyone going to show up who gets subpoenaed? Are we going to get to the root cause of what happened? Is there a national willingness to do that? When I look at this, that's what I keep asking myself is, what has changed? What is going to stop this from happening again? Just in the last 24 hours, DHS has released another alert talking about, kind of a long, hot summer, a perfect storm this summer. We're looking at a former president and his organization perhaps being indicted tomorrow. The organization, as far as we know, we have a president today a former president today who's on the Mexican-American border with a governor talking about, chaos at the border. What has changed that ensures us this won't happen again? I'm hard-pressed to tell you what has changed.